Hello, my name is Diego. Welcome to Christ Church.
Hi, I'm John Hamilton from Christ Church in Montevideo, and I'm really excited to be sharing the third part of our mini-series on finance, financial wisdom. So what does financial wisdom have to do with my everyday life and with my spirituality? Well, there are few things in life that can get a greater hold on our heart than money. And there are few things in life, very few things, that can cause more stress to people and anxiety than managing their money. So this is a great topic that is relevant for all of us every day, and it has so much to do with our heart. Now, someone in our small group said on the first day in the response time after the message, money can't make a person, but money can unmake a person. Money cannot make you, but money can unmake you. And what a true statement and a way to think about what we're building in our lives. Where are we going? Where are we headed? What's deep in our hearts? And so we've talked about the fact that our beliefs lead to our behavior. Or another way of saying that is that we can look at our behavior and trace back to find out what we really believe. And so that was the topic of the first talk, was the question, what's in your heart? What's in my heart? And so we're using the material from Ron Blue, the Ron Blue Institute, and a fantastic book that he wrote, Never Enough. That's the first part of the title, Never Enough. So Ron Blue had provided the image of a heart with the 4 sections and 4 key questions for our heart as we try to understand what belief is driving my behavior. So we had the stewardship question, do I really believe that God owns it all? An amazingly deep question to reflect on. Then we had the contentment question. Do I really believe that what I have is enough? The faith question. Do I believe that I am demonstrating my faith through my finances? And then the wisdom question. Do I believe that God's wisdom is available to me? We also talked about Psalm 23. And I said, we associate Psalm 23, if we're familiar with it, with other things, not always with finance, with life and with death and with God's protection as our good shepherd. And this ancient psalm, one of the most well-known texts in all of Scripture, talks about God's presence, His provision, His protection, the peace that He gives. It talks about the resources that come from Him in all different ways. But a key part of Psalm 23 is understanding the psalmist's trust in God. And so that comes all the way back to the heart question. At the heart of it all, do I really believe that I can trust God for His provision because He owns it all? He is my provider. That's been our message for these days. So once we've looked at our heart issues, what is our belief? Do I really believe that God owns it all? Then I can say, there's one key perspective that I invited us to have as a community, that I continue to encourage us to have as a community. God is my provider. God is the owner. He owns it all. And from that perspective, I can look out and recognize that there are only 4 possible uses for all of my money. And we talked about 4 or 5 because you'll remember if you watched it, we said we can live, give, owe, grow, and then owe. And what we want to do is get rid of that last O because that's our consumer debt. And then we're down to 4. And live, give, owe, owing taxes, and growing. Those are the only possible uses for all of your resources, all of my resources at any given time. And so we have a small circle in the center that centers us. God owns it all. And then we have a larger circle which is composed of the 4 or 5 categories of everything we can do with money. And we put all of our money into there, everything we have, all of our resources, and we assign it a space. Is this living, giving, owing, growing? And the owing can be taxes, and it can be our debts. I wanted it to be very clear. I think it was clear. But for any space to grow, to be larger, to have a greater percentage in our lifestyle, then some other space has to shrink. And so if you want your living to be larger, then your giving, your growing, your owing has to become smaller. And so if you have a little bit of money or if you have a lot of money, it doesn't make any difference. The principles are the same. So this is not about how much money you have, and it's not about saying this is easier for me because I happen to have money. It's the same principle for everybody. All of us have those possible uses: live, give, owe, grow, and owe. And so if we want one section to be larger, another section has to be smaller. If you want your owing to be smaller, if you want to eliminate and avoid debts, well, where can you get that money? Maybe you're giving more than you can really afford to give. Maybe you're supporting family members or other people or institutions or places compassionately with very good intentions, but within the resources you have, you can't feel responsible to give that much money. And so maybe you need to reduce that so that you can eliminate some debts. Or perhaps you're living a little bit larger than you need to. Figure out ways to say, how can I reduce this? But let's come to the principles, the topic for today. 5 habits. So we had 5 uses, 4 or 5, let's call them 5 uses for our money. And then we'll have 5 habits, 5 principles that if we will follow them and develop these principles into habits, then our life will change. 5 principles that you should develop as habits in your life. And some of you have. It all begins with one in the middle. Just like our money talk begins with one perspective in the middle, our 5 principles from Ron Blue begins with one key principle at the heart of it all. And it's there on your screen. Spend less than you earn. Spend less than you earn. If you don't spend less than you earn, nothing else is going to work. Nothing else you do for your finances will work. This is the number one key principle to resolving your financial difficulties. And so in order to spend less than you earn, you need to know how much you earn. What are all the sources of inflow, places where money is coming in that's available to you? And some people have one inflow or stream of income, and some people have various. But you identify what they are, and some people say, well, I don't have any income. And because there are different ways to look at it, but where do you get the money that you use to buy your groceries and to pay your electric bill and those things? What is that? That is your living, and you need to spend less than your income. That's the number one habit. Once you're able to spend less than you earn, and that comes from being very clear and being very honest and taking a good look at where does all your income come from, and maybe it comes every week, every 2 weeks, every month. Maybe you have income that comes in once a year. You find all that and you balance it out and you say, how is my spending? And then the number 2 principle to moving forward in your life is to avoid and eventually eliminate debt. You have to avoid and eliminate debt. Now, there are different kinds of debts, and this can get complicated, and I'm not a financial counselor. I'm sharing the principles. And so there are debts that people have, like quotas on their credit card that don't cost interest. And that's a certain kind of debt. And if you're carrying those quotas on your credit card, you have to be very careful on how it makes it possible to buy things, but you have to be very careful with your budgeting that you have in mind and you're prepared to pay when the time comes. If you fall behind and you're paying interest, then you are losing an opportunity to grow. Every time you're paying interest on a debt, your O piece of the pie is growing and growing. And when your O is growing, something else is shrinking. And that's bringing stress and anxiety and unjust problems for the people that you love most. And so spend less than you earn, avoid and eliminate debt, and then plan for financial margin. Plan for financial margin. And how do we do that? And so that's anticipating. What are the expenses coming up? What is the income coming up? Planning for financial margin has a lot to do with creating a budget and then managing the budget, managing the resources that I have, knowing what's available to me and knowing what is likely coming up in the future. It comes along with procrastinating with a purpose. Is this something that I want right now? Do I really need it right now? Can I put this off? Could I make this purchase or this trip or this thing further along so that I can get my perhaps debts eliminated? Or is this thing that I'm hoping to get, is this something that's going to cause debt in my life? Because perhaps I could save for a time first and have the margin to buy it without creating debt. And so that again comes to planning, to knowing what is my picture, how is my circle, and where are my funds allocated, which parts are they assigned to, live, give, owe, grow, and then putting into practice these principles. Spend less than you earn, avoid the use of debt, plan for financial margin, and set long-term goals. There is power in having long-term goals. And if maybe goals, you don't like that word because so many variables are outside of your control. So what are your long-term priorities? Your priority may be to be completely free of debt. Your priority may be to take a dream vacation, a trip that you wanted. Your long-term priority may be to fund a family member's education. Your long-term goal may be to purchase a certain piece of furniture or vehicle or something that you have a long-term goal or priority. Your long-term priority may be to be able to give charitably, helping somebody, an institution, a family, an organization, your own family. And so those long-term goals are very powerful because they help us to have a motivation to manage and understand our finances. And then the fifth principle is give generously. Giving is so important. Why? Because it seems as if we're giving money away, then we have less money to get out of debt and to live and to do the things that we need to do. And that's wrong thinking, because giving, it's a powerful tool because it breaks the hold that money has on us. It breaks the addictive tendency that I need more money, and we always need a little more. We always want a little more than we have. And when we give, we are expressing our trust in God that He is our provider. And when we give wisely for good causes and within our budget, then we're able to think strategically. We're part of the plan, and we say, this is somebody I can help. This is a situation I can improve their life. And it's amazing as we begin to allow God's finances to flow not just to us, but through us, then He begins to multiply the opportunities for our life. So those are the 5 principles. Spend less than you earn. Avoid the use of debt. Plan for financial margin. Set long-term goals and give generously. When you're doing these things, your life is moving ahead. You're getting ready to take some next steps. It's not about how much money you have. It's about whether or not you're trusting God as your provider, asking Him for His wisdom, asking Him to allow you, to help you demonstrate your faith through your finances, and learning to be content. What I have is enough for what I need right now. As you think about this and we go into our groups and talk about it, may God bless you and give you great clarity and excitement for facing your financial challenges and getting real clarity and peace in your heart. So God bless you as you go.